Hi, you're here on the Caregiver Mastery webinar, Living Your Life Too, How Caring for Families Can Love, Care, and Support Without Chaos and Guilt. Welcome. My name is Lorna Scott, and I'm the author of the best-selling book, Walking the Journey Together Alone, Finding Peace, Hope, and Joy in the Middle of the Shock. I'm glad to see you here at the Living Your Life Too webinar. I'm here today to share with you some tips and to guide you through a specific, simple, 3-step process you can use immediately to live your life and care for your loved one who has a chronic illness, disability, or age-related issues. Thank you for taking the time to join me here on the webinar. I know how busy your life is right now, and I appreciate that you've chosen to spend this time with me. You've taken an all-important step and made a smart decision by joining this webinar. Please be sure to click on the report below and print it off. I'm going to be using it later on in the webinar, and I'm going to take you through this process step by step, so you'll want to make sure that you've got it and a pen or pencil handy. This video is perfect for you if you are family caring for a family member or a close friend. So you could be a husband, a wife, a life partner, common law partner, fiance, boyfriend, girlfriend, but you could also be a parent to a younger child who you're caring for. You could be an adult child caring for an aging parent, and you certainly could be a brother or a sister or a cousin or an aunt or an uncle. If you have someone in your family who has a chronic illness like cancer, multiple sclerosis, heart disease, maybe had a stroke or diabetes, or they've got an age-related illness like dementia or Alzheimer's, or perhaps has a disability from an injury or from birth, it doesn't matter. Whatever it is, you're in the perfect place if you're caring for someone with any of those, who's been diagnosed with any of those illnesses or disabilities. As I go through the webinar, I'm going to show you some strategies that you can start to use right away. And they're going to help you get balance in your time so you can also take care of you. And I'm also going to help you get off that merry-go-round. You're not alone. Many people are going through exactly what you're going through, and that's why this webinar is so important. Would it be valuable to learn some ideas on how other people have found time and what happened when they didn't, so that you could get some time just for you? You know, it might be alone time like a massage or reading a book or a bubble bath, maybe even somebody just bringing you a nice hot tea or a cup of coffee, getting out with the guys, nice meal. There's lots of things that you normally would do, and often we shove them aside when we become a family caregiver. I speak from personal experience, and I'm going to share some research and tips that I've discovered along the way. I've seen family caregivers struggling with making sense of their new normal. There seems to be times where it appears hopeless and that there's no right answers, and that's exactly the time to look at things differently. This is a picture of me with my husband Callum. We were married over 25 years, and he was quickly rising in his career as a newspaper advertising manager. Our children were adults on their own, and we were on our way to living a life we'd worked hard for years to have. Just as things were starting to take off, Callum was diagnosed with stage 3C colorectal cancer. This terribly unwanted disease devastated both of us. It was during those first few days after the diagnosis that I realized while we were both dealing with finding out he had cancer, what we worried about and how we coped would be different. At this point, I was Callum's wife, doing what I felt I should do, and I never considered myself a caregiver. I also didn't consider that I had needs of my own while learning to deal with what Callum went through, the diagnosis, more test results, doctor's appointments, and treatment. While learning what this new life was about, I was surprised at how much I felt paralyzed and couldn't keep a train of thought most of the time. I really wished I just had someone to wave a magic wand and make it better, or at least come and look after us. We got through the next couple of years. I thought we had it made when Callum's parents came to visit. They came from a couple of provinces away, drove hundreds of miles, and I was just relieved, thinking, finally, somebody's here. We can go to work. We can come home. There's going to be food made where I'm not going to have to worry about meals. And, I just wanted to be a child and have a parent wrap their loving arms around me. And I was surprised and frustrated when that didn't happen. We'd come home from work and it was, well, I was going to make supper, but I didn't know what you wanted. And I just wanted food. That's really all I wanted was food. I didn't say that out loud. I just kind of went, oh, okay, and went ahead and made something. I really couldn't look after 2 more people. I was spent. And what happened was that I found out that not only did I need to learn how to ask them for help. I mean, they were also dealing with this horrible news and had to deal with it and learn how to cope with it. And they didn't know what we wanted. It had been over 25 years since my husband had lived with them. I learned to ask for help, and I learned to be specific. So next time they came to visit, I had the menu ready. I had some things pre-made. I said, these are the things you can help with. This would really, really help me. And they said, thank you. We really appreciate that. And they did everything as I asked. And it was beautiful. We got help. They felt like they were helping and not in the way. And it turned into a beautiful thing. But I had to learn how to ask. After that, we got through the next couple of years and enjoyed more time living our life than focusing on the cancer. We lived with hope for a cure, and during pre-op tests for removing a suspicious spot, we found out that the cancer had spread more than originally thought. And suddenly, all hopes for a cure vanished. This news shook us to the core, and we now had to come to terms with a future that would be all too short. We were thrown back into the chaos of cancer treatment, and we had no idea how to deal with this. Callum took on the challenge head on, and I was there to support him any way I knew how. The reality was, I didn't know how to do it. The reality was, I didn't know how to do it. He was the one with terminal cancer and going through treatment to slow it down. I was there, sucked into a vortex of worrying about his health, and silently worried what it meant for me. I felt guilty even having that thought. How could I worry about me? Days and weeks went on, the stress of the medical crisis seemed to never end, and I started to feel like I was losing touch with who I really was. I started to lose the connection to my soul, and I was scared I'd never find my way back or remember who I really was. I started to pay more attention to the things that made me feel better. I longed to feel joy and passion again. I love the Chicken Soup for the Soul series, and I really did find some moments of joy in the middle of the sadness and gloom. In that yearning for passion, I came across something called the Passion Test, based on the New York Times bestseller book, The Passion Test, The Effortless Path to Finding Your Life's Purpose. A certified facilitator guided me through the Passion Test, and I discovered my number one passion at that time was caring for my husband. I realized I didn't have to give up me to care for my husband. My attitude and perspective shifted. What I thought was robbing me of peace and joy is exactly what brought me peace and joy. I was resisting what was natural for me. And that's when I knew my passion was helping Callum have the best possible life for the time he had left. For the next 3 years, I focused on this passion and learned a lot about how to embrace my caregiving role. Many times I had doctors and nurses tell me that we dealt with Callum's cancer diagnosis in a very unique way, and others could learn from us. I was so committed to the Passion Test process, I became a Passion Test facilitator so I could help others live their passions, especially those experiencing challenging times. Even though we lived more in those 3 years than many people will live in their whole lifetime, I still missed one really important thing. And that was looking after me. I became so entwined with Callum and living life to the fullest that I did push down some of me. I learned how important it is to stay connected to who I really am. Writing my book helped me get a deep understanding of this and has helped me get back on track. It has helped me understand how to understand obstacles faced by family caregivers, assess the common issues, and be able to help others find their way to being who they really are, and embrace the role of the family caregiver. I've shared those moments that no one wants to talk about. I've had the guilt for not doing enough for my husband, not doing enough for my family, and certainly not doing enough for myself. I didn't like to talk about that guilt because I wasn't the one who was sick, and I didn't want to complain. I put on that happy face and hoped no one would see through the shield I put up to protect me. And I learned that even though he was the one with cancer, I couldn't escape its impact on me, and I was the only one who could change how I was going to deal with it. While I was caring for Callum, I tried lots of things to make our life as good as it can be. I also had meltdowns, felt guilty, and often didn't agree on key strategies about his health and the treatment. Some things I tried, they worked, and some didn't. What I learned was that I wasn't the only one who felt that way or was going through these things. I looked for books and I asked professionals how to be part of caring for Callum and still be me. I couldn't find the help I desperately wanted and needed. I started writing a blog as a way to cope with how I was feeling and heard countless times how much it helped others. I wrote my book because I couldn't find anything that helped me be me while I cared for Callum, and I'd already written something that helped others. Now I want to share with you what I learned along the way. The one who can understand the most about what you go through is someone else who has already been there. And I'm going to share some really good tips and strategies with you today. So enough about me. Let's get back to you and what you are here for. Let's dive in now and find out that you no longer have to be invisible. You can feel peaceful, have joy, and live your life too. I want to help you get through the chaos that comes with this sudden, unexpected, and unasked for caregiving role. Show you it's possible to have precious time just for you, and how to choose peace and joy, and stay connected and be yourself. Caring for a family member is not a sprint, it's a marathon. What you will learn today are important steps to take that will give you more energy, better focus, and will help you believe that you'll get through whatever the day brings. So, just a quick reminder, please be sure to click on the link below to get your activity guide worksheet as I get ready to guide you through that 3-step process that's coming up right away. Today I'm going to talk about something that made a big difference in how I managed to balance my time and my life while coping with the changes. And this is what I'm talking about. Asking for and accepting help. So what does it mean to ask? Well, when you ask, it's to tell someone in the form of a question that you want to be given something or you want something to happen. And then to accept is to receive or to take something that's been offered. And one thing I learned about many family caregivers is they don't like to ask for help, and it's uncomfortable, and sometimes they just don't want to accept help. They don't know how to accept help. And when help is offered, they hesitate to accept it. It's like they can't see the forest for the trees. They are spun around so much every day that they can't stop long enough to figure out they need help, let alone ask for it. Yet, studies show that 42% of spouses caring for their husband or wife said they'd have liked more help than they received. What happens when you don't ask for help is that you become accustomed to the stress and begin to think it's a normal state of being. It's like the boiled frog. If you put a frog into cold water and slowly raise the temperature, the frog will get used to the warmer water and not know when it needs to jump out to avoid getting boiled. They lose touch with when they need help. As the weeks and months carry on with the maze of medical appointments, treatments, and dealing with the many responsibilities you now have to juggle, the stress slowly infiltrates your body and you don't even realize the effect on your mind, body, and spirit. You don't realize when you need to jump out of the pot so you don't get boiled. And we're talking about time. You don't find time, you make time. This might seem like a simple statement and unachievable in some days, all at the same time. No worries. I can help you go from feeling like time is slipping through your fingers to being able to grab back on and make every minute count. So what does this look like? Asking for and accepting help isn't about being weak or incompetent. It's about being strong and courageous. It isn't about thinking you can do it alone and saying, I can handle it myself. It doesn't mean being vague and saying, call when you have time. It isn't about settling for piles of dirty dishes, lack of sleep, and making the best of it, or I wouldn't even know what to ask for. The trend in the number of families providing care at home for ill family is so scary that even governments are starting to take notice and realize they have a big role to play. Research shows we are heading into an epidemic of people who are in the most productive years of their life and are thrown into having to stretch their time and money to provide care for an ill or disabled family member. What this means is that many people who have worked hard all their life to enjoy retirement are now faced with a life-threatening or life-changing illness, age-related issues, or disability. This puts a lot of pressure and strain on their family, especially when they are faced with a pile of new responsibilities and not sure how to navigate the maze of the medical system their loved one is dealing with. There are thousands of adults who are supporting someone in their family, and many, well, they're also raising young families of their own. There are teams of doctors, social workers, nurses, support groups, medical testing pharmacists, and a handful of others looking out for your loved one. Who is there for you? The one who walks beside them, step by step. Sometimes it seems family caregivers are invisible, and no one can see how hard it is for them to talk about their fears and guilt, let alone ask for help, to get a break. I'm here to tell you, and I'll show you, it doesn't have to be that way. There is something you can do to change this. I've spent over 25 years helping people through crisis and troubling situations in their life. I know how paralyzing it is to hear those most feared words come from the doctor or from someone in your family. Cancer, dementia, stroke, kidney disease, Alzheimer's, Parkinson's, disability. Doesn't matter which disease, disability, or age-related illness it is. Those words are shocking and devastating. I was a caregiver for my husband for nearly 6 years, and I know what you're going through. I walked beside him as he went through the full gamut of cancer diagnosis and treatment. I've been in your shoes, and I found my own way. Family caregivers do the best they can, being by their family's side as much as possible. It's a scramble to get through the day, getting to work, volunteering, house cleaning, making meals, and maybe they also have children's or parents' needs to squeeze into the day. Before they know it, they're at the end of the day before they get to the end of their to-do. There won't be any sleep tonight list. The list doesn't have any of the things they want or need, even if by some miracle they did get through it. They run out of time before booking eye appointments, getting their clothes to the cleaners, or going to the gym. They didn't even get to eat lunch or they choked down a donut, a fast food burger, or a day-old sandwich. They didn't finish or get done what they wanted to do for their husband or wife, and that's when the guilt really clicks in. What I've noticed is most family caregivers feel guilty when they forget to do something or forget something for their husband or wife or for their family member. Maybe it was the Tums or gravel to settle an upset stomach or picking up their favorite food. They hope no one noticed the things that didn't get finished. They drop into bed feeling unsatisfied, unhappy, and exhausted. They spend another sleepless night wondering if things will ever get better. They try to look after everyone else, but feel guilty when it seems like it's never enough. I've seen family caregivers who are up to their eyeballs in demands day after day, and the stress keeps piling up. The stress increases, and the guilt continues to build. Their world closes in, and they can't see any way out. They don't know where to turn or who they can talk to. How could they ever admit out loud that sometimes they feel tired, bitter, even angry about what's happening? They aren't the ones staring a devastating illness in the face. Their voice is stifled and replaced with a pasted smile. They tell themselves they're okay, and they tell their friends and family they're doing fine. The truth seeps through late at night when it's quiet, and they know they're not okay. They don't know whether to listen to their heart or their head. They tell themselves other people have it worse. They shouldn't complain. Then their heart jumps in and argues. They are hurting and don't know what to do about it. They watch their loved one fight so hard. Through the silent tears that stain their pillow at night, whenever it is that they get to bed, they are buried in a overwhelm of worry, fear, anger, sadness, grief, guilt, and they vow to do a better tomorrow. The next morning, they wake up and have a daily list with all of the yesterday's undone tasks now added to it. More and more, it's no longer a to-do list. It has become the I will never sleep again list. They are filled with fear that they'll never ever have a life without dealing with all these issues and how they interrupt their ideal life, and they start losing hope that things will be different. You want to pay attention to what I say next. When a family caregiver's life is like this and they don't take action to change it, the only thing that will be different is that things will get worse. I'll say that again. Things will get worse. The stress will continue to pile up and get worse and worse until they feel completely smothered and maybe even feel like their life is spinning out of control. The truth is, if they don't do something about it, they will continue to feel overwhelmed, overtired, and guilty that they aren't getting it all done. There will be a strain on their relationships with family and friends. They must ask for help. Without help, they face days filled with anxiety and possibly depression. Before they know it, they will quit hearing from friends and will feel more and more isolated. Perhaps worst of all, their health will start to suffer to the point of dealing with a chronic disease like heart disease, maybe even cancer. It can be different, and that's why you're here, and that's why I'm here to help you. Research shows that nearly one half of caregivers reported at least 5 symptoms of psychological distress. This can happen to you: depression, feelings of isolation, and disturbed sleep. And 1 in 3 spouses caring for a husband or wife had a consult or medical professional as a result of their responsibilities. I know you don't want to get sick. Being open and willing to help in many forms will help lessen that chance. Having a plan about how to ask for and accept help will give you what you need to be the caregiver you want to be, and may even make sure you won't need a caregiver of your own. Asking for and accepting help is not about giving away power or control. It's not a sign of weakness to delegate or ask for help. There is no shame in asking for help. You never have to do this alone. Okay, you might be nodding your head in agreement. Maybe you're even cracking a smile. Other family caregivers make it sound so easy. Just call someone. Just ask for help. I know that picking up the phone is too hard. It may as well weigh 1,000 pounds. I know those thoughts that are running through your head. You aren't going to call anyone ever. I can't emphasize enough, if you don't ask for help, you will continue to get tired, not eat well, walk around the house with burnt-out light bulbs, dripping faucet, and piles of laundry. I get it. I've been there. How could you ever ask someone to come in and do your dirty laundry? Okay, the point is, they don't have to do the dirty laundry. They could vacuum, let someone do your dishes, or deadhead your flowers, pick up your groceries, wash your floors. Every minute someone helps you is a minute you can bank for yourself. Okay, let's jump in and look at a list here. Take a moment to think of the list of what you need to get done today. And if it's the end of the day, what was your list at the beginning of the day and how did it grow? If it's handy, go and get it right now and have it in front of you and take a look at it. Or take a moment to think of everything that you think you need to do today. And that isn't just a to-do list. It's an I'll never get to sleep list. Family caregivers often feel overwhelmed just looking at it, so they hide it, they forget it, maybe even lose it. By the time it's looked at again, there are 10 more things to add to it, and the cycle starts all over. I remember looking at my list as an I must do it all by myself list, with no help. But let's look at what this might be. So it might be pick up fruits and vegetables, maybe renew a prescription, fill the car with gas, do the laundry, cut the grass, take recycling to the depot, change light bulbs, and pay bills. To the eye of someone not involved in looking after an ill family member, it might seem obvious that the family caregiver could use some help. Yet, they don't see it. They think that they can handle the craziness of the wretched schedule, trying to figure out who needs to go where and when and how and who's taking them, and then deal with the ever-changing emotions. They might even convince themselves they're doing just fine. I've heard and seen stories that are dramatically different. This is what I've seen and heard from family caregivers. They don't do things to the same standard they're used to. They have memory problems and forget what they've done. They buy salad dressing and get home to see there are already 3 bottles in the pantry or cupboard. They forget what they haven't done, so now they've got 4 bottles of salad dressing and no lettuce or tomatoes. They have decreased productivity at work. They're distracted while driving and start to have close calls. They miss appointments or double book appointments, and they have to ask for more and more time off work. For people to function well, they must cut down on their mind clutter. That is why these to-do lists, help. They help clear the brain so it can be used for some really important things. And there's a way to quickly find out what's next to be done by looking at a list and the calendar of appointments. Could you imagine just for a moment what it would be like to have only 1 or 2 things on your list? What would it be like to have someone else's name beside those items? To have a name of your friend, family, neighbor, or coworker? Who is going to do that task for you? So I want you to close your eyes just for a moment and listen as I go through this list and picture what this would look like in your mind's eye. So this is today's to-do and delegation list now. So we've got pick up fruits and vegetables. Sally's going to do that. Renew the prescription. Me, I'll do it. John's going to fill the car up with gas. Dad's doing the laundry. The neighbor's teenager's cutting the grass. Mom's taking the recycling to the depot. Devin is changing the light bulbs. And I'm going to look after paying the bills. So you don't have to do it all, and you don't have to Do it alone. You can open your eyes now. Do you see how many things can easily be delegated? Hiring for the lawn and snow care, house cleaning, washing cars. As Callum got more sick, I used a website called Lots of Helping Hands, and I talk about that in my book. It's something that's helped me schedule things like meals, visits, and other kinds of help. I really only used it for a little while, and I wished I'd have known about it sooner. It made asking for and accepting help a lot easier. So if you close your eyes again and just visualize what it would be like to have only one or two things to do in a day, how freeing would that be? Well, open your eyes and look at your to-do list now. We've delegated everything but the renew prescription and the pay bills. Now take a deep breath and sit for a moment. What would it feel like to start your day with only those two things on the list? And even better, let's look at the list in the terms of how much time you save. So we would save an hour without not having to go to the grocery store, and about half an hour to fill the car with gas, a couple of hours for the laundry, likely an hour to cut the grass, maybe 3/4 of an hour for taking the recycling to the depot, and maybe 1/4 of an hour for changing the light bulbs. That's a total of 5.5 hours extra. What would you do if you saved 5.5 hours this week? Now, this is flexible, and I just, tried to come up with what would most likely be an average of the hours you'd save. So some of you may save more time, maybe some not as much. There are other things that people could do for you that would help you save at least 5 hours a week. So wouldn't that feel wonderful? More relaxing and manageable? What could you do with those 5.5 extra hours? You could have quality time with your spouse, or a child, or a family member. You could go for a massage. You could get 2 naps, 2 half-hour naps, or 1 good 1-hour nap. 3 20-minute walks. Coffee with a friend. Wouldn't that be great? That's a lot better than what happens when you don't get help. If you don't ask for and accept help, you will feel overwhelmed, fatigued, anxious, depressed, you'll get sick, you'll be overweight or underweight, there'll be stress in your relationships, and possibly financial problems. So please make sure you have that handout printed, because we're ready to start going through that 3-step process on pages 2 and 3. I'm going to walk you through this simple process that will help you start asking for and accepting help. And I'll go one step further, and before this video is done, you will be able to see how you can get that time. So click and print that report below, or that activity guide handout. In my live event, I go into this in a lot more detail with a couple of more additional strategies and tips, but I don't want to keep you too long today, so I'll give you as much as I can and guarantee you will have what you need to make a difference in your life. So on page 2, we're going to talk about step 1, which is your time bank. This is where you're going to calculate how many extra hours you have each week. In the example, it's below for you, and I'll show it on the next slide here. I have included really only basic family activities, so there'll be some things that you will want to add on your paper. So in step 1, so in the first column, which is called activity, you're going to make a list of the activities you regularly do each day and or week. Include everything you can think of, including reading, TV, driving, children, family, visiting friends, car, house, yard maintenance, kind of anything you can think of. In that example that I have, I've even got personal grooming and grocery shopping and some exercise. So that's what you want to write down in column 1. In the second column, write down the number of hours per day that you do that activity times the number of days a week you do the activity, and put the answer in the third column. So I'll just show you here. So this is where we have where somebody is, say, sleeping. We all need sleep, and 8 hours a day is a great goal to go for. So I would recommend that you try to get 8 hours of sleep, and that's why I put it here. So we've got sleeping, and it's 8 hours a day times 7 days, because I'm expecting you're going to sleep 7 days a week. So that's 56 total weekly hours, which is column 3, and I'm going to talk about that in a minute. And the personal grooming is 1 hour a day for 7 days. Work 7 hours a day for 5 days equals to 35 hours, and so on. So you can see there's travel to work, meal prep and cleanup, eating meals. Sometimes I forget when I'm planning my day that I actually need to sit down and eat. And laundry, medical appointments. So those are the things, and you just keep going with the list, as many things as you need to on there. I'm going to keep moving forward with the presentation. If you need to, you can pause the video right now and fill in your list, or you can do it after the webinar is over. So in the third column, that's going to be the total of your calculation in the second column. So like I said, that was the 8 hours a day times 7 days, 56 weekly hours, which is column 3. 1 hour a day times 7 days for personal grooming is 7 weekly hours. And then in the fourth column, we're going to subtract the weekly hours, which is in the third column, from the number of the time bank balance, which is the fourth column in the line above that. So I'll show you an example. So we have column 3 in our sleeping example is 8 hours times 7 days, which we've already gone through, equals 56 total weekly hours. So then we're going to take that with the time balance is 168 hours, because that's how many hours are in a week. And we're going to take 168 minus 56 equals 112. So that's our time bank balance. So then on the next line where we have personal grooming is 1 times 7. So that's 7 weekly hours. And we're going to subtract that from 112, which gives us 105. So I think you will see that. And do that for everything that's on your list. So you take what is in column 4 minus what's in column 3 on the line below, which gives you the new bank balance that you put, or time balance, sorry, and then you put that into column 4. So do this for everything you do in a week. And in this example that I gave you, at the very end of the week, you have 21 hours left. That's 3 hours a day on average. But I've not included anything like haircuts, extra social time, kids' activities, clothes shopping, music lessons, going to birthday parties. There's lots of things to squish in a week. So just keep that in mind, and you'll see how quickly your time runs out and why you want to be able to ask for help, which will lead us to step 2. So for this exercise, and you can choose more than 3, but we're just going to choose 3 for now. And step 2 is to think of 3 of the activities that are in your activity list that you really don't like doing. You might not like them because of the time it takes. It might be inconvenient. You really don't like doing it. There may be some things that you can't do because of your health. So if you've had a heart attack or stroke and you need somebody to help you shovel snow, that would be one of those things you would want to ask for help, because you don't want to put your own health in danger. You want to stay healthy. But there are some things that you just don't like doing. For me, one is house cleaning. That is one thing I would love to have help with. So once you've gone back to your activity list, and that's that first column, and star or make note, highlight something, 3 activities that you really don't like doing. And then what you're going to do is put them in the list in step 3, where it says tasks I don't have time to do. And that's what we're going to call it. So in that column 1, you're going to put in something like house cleaning, and it could be picking up groceries. It could be weeding my garden. And then in the next column where it says who I can ask to do the task, write down a name and phone number, and maybe 2 names and phone numbers of people who you could ask to do those things for you. People are waiting to be able to help you. That is what people want, and they just don't know how to ask you, and they don't know how to offer, but they really want to help. So give them the gift of feeling good, because that's what you're doing when you're asking for help. So some of the top 5 things that family caregivers can ask for help are house cleaning, picking up groceries, having pre-made meals or coming in to cook meals, the lawn and yard care, visiting with your family member so that both of you can get a break. You know, sometimes your family member doesn't need you around all the time either. So then, with that list of who can help you, have that list handy, including the phone number. Makes things a lot easier. You will have those friends and family who want to help. Now, you can finish this now and pause the video if you need to. Or you can finish this off after the webinar, whichever you want to do. Now, a bonus thing you can do is to write down what you're going to do with your extra time. And we did that little exercise earlier, so you likely have a list started. It's really key to just have that list available. So bonus. Here's your bonus. Write down what you will do with your extra time. So the first step that I just walked you through was to write down all the things that have to get done in a week. And then the second step was to identify the things that you don't like to do that you're going to ask for help. And the third step was who you can ask to help you. People want to help you. It's okay to ask for help, and then do something for yourself. So this is a good list to have handy, and again, you can pause the webinar now, or you can fill this list in after the webinar is over. We're almost done, so whatever you would like to do. It's really important to have this list ready. It's normal for family caregivers to sometimes daydream about what they would do if they had any spare time. And then they get paralyzed, and they seem to have a memory loss when they do get time. So having your list ready to take advantage of those precious minutes is really important. You could even have someone be your caregiver companion, someone who keeps you on track so they get an idea of when you're overwhelmed or when you need to ask for help, and then giving you that extra motivation to do something fun and relaxing, things for yourself, things like a walk in the park, read a book, have a massage. I'm sure you'll agree that this activity was really helpful and will give you time to care for yourself and never feel guilty about not doing enough. I can tell that you're excited about deciding what you're going to do with all that extra time you just created. Congratulations on sticking it out and using this deliberate process to create time for you. One of the changes that helped me cope better was learning how to find peace in the middle of the storm. In the next video, I'll walk you through a formula you can use to get more peace even when it seems impossible. Now, I've shared a lot of information and a couple of hot tips today. I hope you found it valuable, and asking for and accepting help will help get you out of that overwhelmed state, and it's really a good foundation to living your life. Thank you for watching, and if this webinar has made a difference for you, please click the like button below and leave a comment or a question. Keep an eye on your inbox in the next few days for the next video. May you find peace, hope, and joy in every day. See you soon.